Today I want to talk about how I replaced the front clip on my Rabbit pickup. Alright, so I'm back on the garage today, for a little bit anyways. I wanted to answer a question somebody asked, how I went about replacing the front clip on the Rabbit pickup. And I guess I want to make like a little video on that, how I went about doing it, and hopefully help you if you want to try to do it, or if you want to help somebody else do it, or just to know how I did it. I wanted to try to explain how I did it. I saw an idea on how to replace the front clip quite a while ago, and I ended up printing off the VW Vortex where the guy did it. So I'm kind of glad I did, because now if you try to look this up, all you're going to get is tiny pic things. It's not even going to allow you to look at the photos. So I actually saved some of these photos. If anybody's curious and wants to see the original photos, I can forward them to you, but what I have are my photos. But the micro caddy, he was the one where I got the idea of how he cut off his front clip, and that was basically the same way I went about it. His same ideas. That's pretty much what I went off of. I contacted him, asked how he did it, if he'd do things differently, and he kind of did it. He said he'd do it the same way again, just because of how easy it was. So here's a clip of what the first cuts I did. I ended up cutting just below the firewall. There's maybe like an inch. That I was keeping, because I was keeping the top half, the top rain tray, and then I wanted to keep some of the firewall to make sure everything looked right when it was the two were blended together. And then here's another photo of where it was cut at the top, and where I kind of cut out in the middle until I started cutting more into it. Then once I did that, I got into drilling out spot welds, because the bottom of the front clip is held to the cab portion by spot welds. It's pinched together. The outsides are held together by spot welds all the way up through the side, and then they were stitch welded on just little stitch welds down the side. So then I ended up getting most of the front clip cut out. Here's more close-up photos. And I basically kept cutting the front of the pickup out until I got it to where I was happy with how the two were gonna match up together, because it's basically all pinch welded together for the most part. Here's both the two ready to go together. The sides of the truck there were spot welds here that were all drilled out all along the side. Once I had those drilled out, I did both sides, drilled those out. Then on the inside, you can see where these were welded together, spot welded, and then like stitch welded together. I did that on both sides. The bottom area you can see is the front clip overlaps the pan, the whole pan all across. I had the front half of these braces, floor pan braces, I slit, and then I cut off the welds, and I basically took it off. These I need to put back on. The driver's side where I replaced the pan, I have a new floor pan piece, or new floor pan support I'm gonna put in there, and then re-weld the front half of that on there. But once I made that cut, I ended up going through drilling out all the spot welds all along, so I could separate the two. Once I did that, then the bottom was pretty much ready. The bottom was already pretty much ready to separate. The inside, I basically had to drill out all these spot welds all along there. The driver's side, that was pretty much all gone because it was just rotted out. And once I did that, I drilled out the spot welds and I ended up slitting this right across there. That way I could get in there to make sure I had everything clear, and then slide the front part of the clip underneath because it kind of pinched together. Then the sides of the front clip, when I was installing, they basically came around and overlapped on the pickup, and then I basically screwed in and tack welded spots holding the front two together. The rain tray firewall area where the two meet, I was going to overlap it, like this is from the caddy, this is from the rabbit front clip. I was going to overlap it and weld it together down here, but I ended up joining it at the corner. This is all weld all across the top of the corner. It ended up working out great the way I did it, and it showed how good everything lined up, so I just left it there and just welded all across the top, tack welds, and then ground it down and welded on the inside a little bit where I thought it needed it. The sides here I screwed in, and then I welded to the rain tray. Screwed and then welded and then filled the screw holes. The same thing on the sides. I screwed it all together just for lineup purposes, and then I went back through and welded all my holes. Once I had everything fitting together, screwed in place, tack welded a couple spots, I ended up starting to put I put the fenders on and put the hood on just to check for fitment, to make sure my gaps looked okay. I had lots of measurements. I had this drawing, and then I also used the measurements. I also used the measurements from Bentley. From the Bentley manual, there's tons of measurements under the body and interior. The measurements have to be correct from certain areas, so I made sure all those were correct once I had everything installed, checked the fitment, and then I double checked all my measurements before I fully welded everything in. And then once everything looked good, I didn't have to do too much adjusting. Then I basically went through, plugged all my welds, stitch weld inside and out, welded across the top, and then welded underneath. I still have more cleanup to do underneath, just because when I threw it together, I basically welded stuff and then I kind of just left it, because I got into other stuff. And welding upside down is kind of a pain, so I thought I was gonna flip it up to do more welding, but being up higher like it is, it's easier to weld. So once I get done with doing what I'm doing, then I'll have to go back through and not re-weld, but fix some of the welds, clean them up, and that's just on the bottom. Everything else is welded solid. I can stand on the radiator mount and it's pretty solid. All in all, I'm super happy with how the front clip fit on the Rabbit pickup. I was super nervous once I started cutting it. I must have took at least a year debating whether or not I wanted to actually cut this whole front clip off. And then I started cutting it, and then I was like working a little bit at a time. And then once I got everything fitting up right, and it's a great accomplishment when you're nervous about doing something and everything looks legit. It can be very intimidating. Kind of, you get like a sick feeling in your gut once you start cutting stuff up. So yeah, this is actually the first thing I ever really welded on. Actually bought used welder super cheap and learned practicing on stuff, and then fully went to town welding on this. This is the first thing I ever really welded on, other than some stuff at work, but sheet metal wise is the first thing I've ever really welded on and learned. So it's been a learning curve. It's been fun. I've been excited getting back into it, building on it, trying to keep my motivation going, and trying to keep at it. Hope you learned something from this and was informative a little bit on how I went about doing it. I know other people did it different ways, like cut the A-pillar and then replace the whole floor pan. If I would have had a cleaner shell, I probably might have gone the route of replacing the whole floor pan, seeing how I did one half and then I did inner rockers, so I probably would have rather done that if I could, but I only did the front clip and then I did one half of the pan, and then I've done other stuff. But if I was to do it again and I've had a cleaner shell, I probably would have done the whole pan with it. But just doing the front clip, it was good for the most part. So thanks for watching. Hope you got something out of this. My little babbling of how I replaced my front clip. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a holler. I'll try to answer them best I can. Anywho, see you on the next one. Hope you can make sense from my babbling, because I feel like I babbled way too much. Ay, ay, ay.